Welcome to Unit 1 for your ethics course. In this unit we're going to learn about the fundamentals of ethics, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on what the objectives are going to be for this particular section of the course. As you can see, Unit 1 covers chapters 1 and number 2, and in chapter 1 you have ethics in the examined life, and in chapter number 2 we're going to learn about subjectivism in ethics, relativism in ethics, and then emotivism. So what are the objectives that you're going to want to definitely familiarize yourself with in this portion of the course? Well, number one, make sure you're able to list the 4 major areas of moral philosophy, and those are listed in your textbook. That's going to be descriptive ethics, normative ethics, applied ethics, and meta-ethics. So know the definitions of each of these, and know examples of them if I provide them on the test, and we'll cover that in the course. And then number 2, be able to distinguish between instrumental and intrinsic value. So just know the basic difference between these two. Intrinsic value is value inside of something. It's inherent value. It's objective value. Instrumental value, as you can see the word instrument as one of the root words there, it just means that it's valuable because it's useful for something. So something can both be intrinsically valuable and instrumentally valuable, but not necessarily instrumentally valuable. Just because something's instrumentally valuable, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's also intrinsically valuable. So instrumental means that it's valuable because it's useful, and that's the only reason it's valuable. Intrinsic value means that it's just good in and of itself. Most philosophers, for instance, think that happiness is intrinsically valuable. On the other hand, wealth would be something that's instrumentally valuable, many philosophers believe. Why? Because wealth is not necessarily inherently good, but it's useful for some further purpose. So be able to distinguish between these two things. We have examples in the class that we'll use to cover these. And then number 3, make sure that you can articulate the principle of universality and the principle of impartiality. And once again, these are going to be listed in the textbook, but the principle of universality is the idea that for ethics, for a moral principle to be true, it needs to apply universally to all people. And the principle of impartiality means that we need to not look at people's external circumstances, anything about race, religion, gender. Ethics should be applied impartially to all people, to be fair. So that's an important part of ethics. Both of those principles are very, very instrumental in understanding what ethics is all about. And then number 4, be able to define cultural relativism and subjective relativism. So cultural relativism is the idea that if something is good, it's good only because a particular group of people or a culture says that it's good. So there's no objective right and wrong. It's purely in the eyes of the culture. Subjective relativism is kind of the same thing, but instead of the entire culture needing to affirm something for it to be morally good, just one individual or one subject needs to be the determiner of whether or not something is good or bad. So know the difference between cultural and subjective relativism. And then number 5, moral objectivism, be able to provide arguments for and against it. So moral objectivism is the belief that morality is something that's in the object itself. Not just in the eye of the beholder, like the subjectivist might say, but there is something truly good or bad about certain things. Torture, for instance, or murder. Are these things inherently wrong, or is it only wrong because we don't like it? Is there something emotional about it, or is there something objective about it? And so that takes us to number 6, be able to explain what emotivism is. So emotivism is the view that right and wrong are purely expressions of emotion. So when I say, for instance, torture is bad, all I'm really saying is that I don't like torture. That's what the emotivist says. The objectivist, on the other hand, would believe that there's something objectively wrong with it. And so you'll need to be able to provide arguments for and against objectivism, and then, of course, be able to contrast that and explain it against the concept of emotivism. So I hope this helps, and look forward to meeting all of you in the class.